And of course, if we're discussing lawsuits that have been labeled as frivolous, but actually might have a kernel of truth to them, there is no better place to start than the frivolous lawsuit that is, of course, the McDonald's coffee cup lawsuit. So let's start this discussion with the story of Stella Liebeck, the woman who spilled scalding hot McDonald's coffee on her lap and sued the restaurant. Now, here are the facts, as you might not have ever heard them before. On February 27th, 1992, Stella Liebeck, then a 79-year-old woman from Albuquerque, New Mexico, ordered a cup of McDonald's coffee at the drive-thru window. Liebeck was sitting in the passenger seat of her parked car as her grandson stepped inside to grab some cream and sugar. Since the car had no cup holders, Liebeck placed the coffee cup between her knees and pulled to open the lid. She then spilled the entire cup of scalding hot coffee on her lap, causing third-degree burns on her thighs, buttocks, and groin.
All I remember is trying to get out of the car. I screamed, not realizing I was burned that bad. I knew I was in terrible pain.
She was actually hospitalized for 8 days and underwent skin grafting. Liebeck was permanently disfigured after the incident and was partially disabled for 2 years. Some of the trial exhibits that were used in this particular case shine light on just how devastating her injuries were. Now, of course, Liebeck sued McDonald's, accusing the company of gross negligence and for selling coffee that was, quote, unreasonably dangerous and defectively manufactured. At trial, it was uncovered that McDonald's had been serving coffee between 180 and 190 degrees Fahrenheit, much higher than the industry norm, and which expert testimony revealed could cause third-degree burns in as little as 2 seconds. Other internal documents obtained from McDonald's showed that between 1982 and 1992, the company had received more than 700 reports of people being burned by their coffee, with McDonald's having settled claims from said injuries for more than $500,000. In this case, the jury awarded Liebeck $200,000 in compensatory damages, but reduced that by 20% to $160,000 to account for her own negligence in spilling on herself. The jury also awarded her $2.7 million based on her attorney's suggestion to penalize McDonald's for 2 days' worth of coffee revenue, or about $1.35 million per day. The punitive damage awards was supported by the discovery that 700 people had been previously burned by hot coffee, demonstrating that the company had actual knowledge that the coffee was being served too hot but failed to remedy the issue. The judge reduced the punitive damages to 3 times compensatory damages, or $480,000, for a total judgment of $640,000. This decision was appealed, but the parties settled for an undisclosed amount of probably less than $600,000. Now, if prior to watching this video you thought that this was a case about a clumsy, greedy woman trying to get rich quick over her own mistake, you're probably not alone. Thanks to a perfect storm of shortened news reports and outraged political conservatives who use the case to advocate for sharp limits on tort lawsuits, so-called tort reform, the general public was really misinformed about the nature of this case.
She spilled hot coffee on her lap while sitting in her car and claimed it was too hot. Every day we hear about another outrageous lawsuit.
As a result, the general public wrongly believed Liebeck spilled coffee while she was driving her car. She was in fact just a passenger in a parked car, and that the injuries were minor. She was in fact permanently disfigured. Late-night comedians and sitcoms have also heavily parodied the case, contributing to the false image of this particular lawsuit.
You get me one coffee drinker on that jury, you gonna walk out of there a rich man.
And despite what you might have heard, Liebeck did not sue McDonald's for millions of dollars. In fact, she didn't want to sue them at all. She originally requested only $20,000 to cover her medical bills and lost income. McDonald's responded with an insulting $800 settlement offer. Liebeck's counsel had also offered settlement amounts ranging from $90,000 to $300,000, but McDonald's also rejected all pretrial efforts to settle the case.
I was not in it for the money. I was in it because I wanted them to bring the temperature down so that other people will not go through the same thing I did.
The most that Liebeck asked for at trial was $800,000, and it was the jury that awarded her $2.7 million, which she never actually received because the punitive damages were chopped. And her critics claimed that Liebeck shouldn't recover anything because she spilled coffee on herself, but the jury did in fact find Liebeck partially responsible for her injury, applying the principles of comparative negligence, in which liability is apportioned based on how much at fault each party was for the injury. The jury found that Liebeck was 20% at fault for her injury, and her compensatory damages were reduced by 20%, the amount that she was at fault. But in the past decade, the Liebeck case has received renewed attention in the form of the 2011 documentary Hot Coffee and a 2013 retro report video from the New York Times. But the false perception about this case continues to this very day.
That Stella Liebeck needed to defend her reputation is the saddest piece of this whole story.